Level 1, the denier. It's a Tuesday. 11:14 at night. You have a browser tab open that you haven't clicked on in 11 days. You know what's in it. You know the approximate number. You know it the way you know the check engine light has been on for 3 weeks. Present, acknowledged, and deliberately not dealt with. You have $4,300 on one card, $1,800 on another. A car payment that made complete sense 3 years ago when you were a slightly different version of yourself with a slightly different life. None of it feels catastrophic when you list it that way. People have more than this. You've read the articles. You know the averages. You close the tab. You are not in debt. You're just between paychecks. You're just in a transitional period. You're just figuring things out. That's what you tell yourself. That's been working for 7 months. Once you see it clearly, you have to do something. That's the whole problem. That's the only problem. And right now at 11:14 on a Tuesday, you don't have a something. You don't have the shape of a something. So the tab stays closed. You watch something on your phone until you fall asleep. You do not think about the number. You are very good at not thinking about the number. You are not in trouble. You're just between paychecks. You've been between paychecks for 7 months. Level 2, the juggler. You know the number now. You opened the tab. You added it up. You sat with it for a few minutes in the way you sit with bad news, waiting to feel something definitive and mostly just feeling tired. Then you built the spreadsheet. It took 3 hours. Color-coded. Minimum payments in red. Due dates in one column. Available balance in another. You felt, briefly, like someone who had things under control. So spreadsheet said you could do this. The spreadsheet said if you moved $340 here, pushed the 180s to the 23rd, kept the checking account at $47 until the direct deposit cleared. You could do this. The spreadsheet has been wrong every month. Not catastrophically wrong. Just wrong in the small ways that compound. The copay you forgot about. The subscription you canceled but got charged for anyway. The birthday you couldn't skip. Each one a rounding error. Each one reshuffling the whole column. You've become an expert at a skill nobody wants to have. You know exactly which credits have a grace period and which ones don't. You know which card's interest posts on which day. You know that if you pay the minimum on the 14th instead of the 12th, you get 2 extra days afloat. This is information you carry in your head the way other people carry grocery lists. You tell no one any of this. At work, you are fine. At dinner with your family, you are fine. You run the numbers again without the spreadsheet because you've memorized them. You do this at red lights. You do this in the shower. You did it once in the middle of a conversation, so you found something completely unrelated and nodded at the wrong moment, and the other person noticed. You adjust. You reroute. You find the 47 on a force and turn it into $6 by returning something you bought last month that you don't actually need. You are managing it. The car makes a sound it didn't make before. You turn up the radio, level 3, the negotiator. The juggling stopped working on a Thursday, not dramatically. There was no single moment where everything collapsed. It was more like the math, which had been imprecise but functional, quietly stopped adding up. A medical bill arrived. The kind with an itemized list of charges that seems designed to be misunderstood. The kind where you read it 3 times and still aren't sure what you actually owe or to whom. You put it on the kitchen counter. You moved it to the desk. You put it in a drawer. 3 weeks later, you called the number on the back of one of your credit cards. You had rehearsed what you were going to say for 20 minutes. At some point, you started rehearsing in the shower, then at the kitchen sink, then in the car with the radio off. You asked to speak to someone about hardship options. You were put on hold for 11 minutes. The hold music was something that might have been jazz. The person who answered read from a script. You could hear it. There was a dog barking somewhere in the background on their end. You don't know why you remember that. They were not unkind. You said, I can do $75 a month right now. 3 seconds of silence. They said, we can note that in your account, the mercy of a reduced payment plan is real. $75 a month instead of the full minimum. You write it down, you fold the paper, you put it in the drawer, where you keep things you don't want to look at but can't throw away. You've started calling it the drawer. You call two more creditors. You get through to one. The other transfers you 4 times, and then the line disconnects. You call back. You are getting very good at sounding calm on the phone. You do not feel calm on the phone. You feel like someone who has been given a smaller bucket to bail out a boat that is still taking on water. But you bail. Because that is what you have. You add the new minimums to the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is now 2 pages. Level 4, the ghost. A wedding invitation arrives. White envelope, your name handwritten, the kind of thing that used to feel like a celebration. You do the math before you open it fully. Flight or drive, $180 minimum. Hotel, 2 nights at $130 each if you find a deal. Gift, you cannot show up without a gift. Dress you can wear that doesn't make you feel like you're pretending. Dinner the night before, because it's a destination. This is the 6th time in 4 months you've said you can't make it. You've given 3 different versions of why. You've gotten good at the versions. Specific enough to be believable, vague enough that no one can follow up. Your friend from college texts you a sad face emoji. You text back a heart. You feel something you don't have a clean word for. You stop going to the places that cost money. Then you stop going to the places that don't cost money because people from the places that cost money will be there. Then you stop making the distinction and just stop going. You tell yourself you're tired. You're not tired. You're doing math. You say you're busy. You say you've been antisocial lately. You don't know why. You know why. Your best friend stops inviting you to things, not out of cruelty, out of pattern recognition. You've said no enough times that your absence has become the default. It is easier this way. Nobody has an awkward conversation. Nobody has to notice. You tell yourself it's easier this way. It is easier. That's the problem. Level 5, the drowning. The letter arrives in a white envelope with a return address that is a law firm's name and a city you've never been to. You don't open it for 2 days. When you do, the number inside is not broken into columns anymore. It's one number. It's large enough that you stop trying to translate it into monthly payments. You just look at it. You look at it the way you look at something that has happened, not something that is happening, something that has already happened and cannot be taken back, $67,000, or 94, or 42. The specific number doesn't matter as much as what it represents, which is more than a year of your salary. It's good. More than you could put together even if everything went right for a very long time. A number that took approximately 3 years to build and will take 11 to unwind. This is the level nobody talks about because it doesn't look like anything from the outside. You still go to work. You still answer the texts that don't involve money. You still put the grocery items back in the right order, most expensive first, until you reach a number you can pay without watching the screen too closely. There is an ad on your phone for a debt consolidation service. You've seen it 14 times, you click it, you read the page. The number they offer is lower than any of your minimums combined, and something in your chest loosens for the first time in months, and you fill out the first 3 fields before you stop. You close the tab, you open it again, you close it again. You know what fine print is. You've read enough of it. You also know what it feels like to be so tired that fine print stops being a deterrent. They count on that. You know they count on that. You fill out more fields. You are not lazy. That is the thing you need someone to say and nobody says. You Google it once, financial stress exhaustion, and read 4 paragraphs and close the tab. You don't know what you were looking for. A diagnosis, maybe. Something with a name. The search history stays there for 3 days before you clear it. Level 6, the reckoning. It didn't happen the way you thought it would. There was no rock bottom moment with a clear timestamp. No single conversation that changed everything. It was more like a Tuesday, an ordinary one. You were on the phone with your sister about something unrelated, and she said something offhand about money, and you started to answer, and then you said the number out loud to another human. The full number. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Okay, let's figure this out." That was it. No judgment in the specific way you had been dreading for years. No confirmation of your worst theory about yourself. Just, okay, let's figure this out. The bankruptcy attorney charges $1,500 for a consultation and filing. You borrow it from your sister. The irony is not lost on you. You say so. and she laughs. And it is the first time in a long time that something about this has been even briefly funny. The attorney's office was on the third floor of a building that smelled like carpet cleaner. There was a fish tank in the waiting room. You watched it for 11 minutes before they called your name. The attorney is not what you expected. She's seen this before. She's seen worse. She asks you questions and writes down numbers, and at no point does her face do the thing you've been afraid of other people's faces doing. She explains the options. Chapter 7. Chapter 13. What each one costs you and what each one gives back. You ask, will this ruin me? She says, it will affect you. It won't ruin you. There's a difference. You drive home and sit in the parking lot for 20 minutes, not crying, not feeling relief exactly, feeling something quieter. The specific sensation of a weight you've been holding so long you forgot it was heavy. Shifting, redistributing, becoming something you might be able to carry differently. You thought saying it out loud would make it more real. It was already real, had been real for so long that real had stopped feeling like a useful word for it. What changed was smaller than that. You were just no longer the only one in the room who knew. Level 7, the other side. It's a Tuesday, an ordinary one. You open the browser tab without thinking about it. That's the part nobody warns you about, that the marker for recovery isn't triumph. It's the absence of dread. You check the balance the way you check the weather, a thing you do, not a thing that costs you anything. The number is not zero. It may never be zero in the way you once imagined zero. Clean, final, a door closing on a room you never have to enter again, but it is a number you can look at directly, a number you understand, a number that belongs to a spreadsheet that is one less page now, not two. You went to your friend's birthday dinner last month. You said yes before you ran the math. That was new. You are not the person you were before the debt. That person is still in there, recognizable, continuous, but they have been through something. They know things that comfortable people don't have to know, that the phone call you've been dreading for 6 weeks takes 14 minutes and is survivable. That saying a number out loud to another person is the thing you should have done 11 months before you did it. That the shame is almost always worse than the thing itself. Almost always. You don't come out the other side grateful for the experience. You've heard people say that grateful for the hard times built character, wouldn't trade it. You don't know if they mean it or if they've just said it enough times that it became true. You haven't said it. Maybe you will someday. You're not there yet. What you have instead is a specific knowledge of what you can survive, which is not the same as gratitude, but might be adjacent to it. Somewhere, right now it's 11:14 on a Tuesday night. Someone has a browser tab open they haven't clicked on in 11 days. They know the approximate number. They know it the way you know a check engine light that's been on for 3 weeks. Present, acknowledged, deliberately not dealt with. They will close the tab. They will tell themselves they're just between paychecks. They're not wrong about everything. They're just at the beginning. The tab will still be there tomorrow. So will they.